Okay, this video is going to demonstrate different ways of drawing objects from life, meaning from observation. So in front of me I have this elephant. I know the picture is a little bit pixelated from my webcam, but you'll be able to see what I'm drawing on my paper this way. So the first one that I'm going to show you is contour line drawing. And really what that means is we're going to draw a line that goes around the contours of our object, okay? So with a contour, you never pick your pencil up off the paper. You're really just going to keep it there and just go around. It needs to be like this one continuous line. Now sometimes it's difficult to figure out where we want to start. I'm going to start on the trunk. So just because I can't pick up my pencil doesn't mean that I can't do interiors. I can just keep going back and forth. Now, the one thing is I can't erase. If I pick up my pencil to erase, then I'm cheating. So I really got to make sure that I don't, erase. So if there are mistakes that are made, really, you're just going to go back and draw what you meant to draw. So the purpose of this here is to really start to get your eye and your hand to work together. Your eye needs to constantly be moving back and forth from the object to the paper. So my eyes it's kind of like I'm watching a tennis match, right? With my eyes, like I'm just going back and forth, always referring back to my object. Yes, I know what an elephant looks like, but I don't know what this elephant looks like specifically. So I'm constantly referring back to what I'm drawing. So when you're drawing from objects that are in front of you, observation is huge. It's a big part of it. If you're not observing your object and you're just making it up as you go, then your drawing isn't going to look like your object at all. All right, so I'm constantly going back and forth. I'm going to add some toenails to this toe. I don't know, that foot might be a little bit wider. It's kind of a wide foot and it gets skinnier. So the biggest mistake that most people make whenever they start to draw objects is they just draw what they think they're seeing. They're not actually drawing what they're seeing. They're not taking the time to really look at the object, examine it, and get on paper what they're really seeing. All right, I see a little bit of tail back there, kind of peeking around. All right, this part is going to get pretty tricky. I have, I think, a little owl or something on the back of this. I know you can't see it very well, and I know your view is a little bit different than my view. I'm up a little bit compared to that camera. All right, so I got to kind of think of a strategy on, what I'm going to do here. So I guess I'll just, since the owl is kind of right here on his back, I guess I'll just go for it and hopefully everything aligns. If not, I'll have to make some adjustments. So the one thing that you need to understand is when you're drawing like this, when you're doing a contour drawing, you're not necessarily drawing for this to be a masterpiece. Really, this is a training experience. If you've ever played a sport, a lot of times you'll have these drills, and the drills don't necessarily isn't exactly what you do on the court or on the field, but they're there to help you, to train you and get you used to certain things, maybe ball handling or, whatever. So this is really one of those things. This is getting you trained. You're training your eye and your hand to work together. So it's not necessarily, meant for show. It's not necessarily going to be your masterpiece, but it is going to help you along the way. All right, so I think the last thing I have is this weird part of his ear over here. Now if I wanted, I could come in and add some wrinkles. So you can get a little bit detailed. You just can't cheat. You can't pick up your pencil off the paper. All right, so there is my view of this elephant. I never picked my pencil up off the paper. I really just focused on the contours of the object and what I saw, and I tried to replicate that on my paper. All right, so now it's time for you to start. Try it. All right, next we're going to do a blind contour. And although it sounds like you're going to be drawing with your eyes closed, you actually are not going to be drawing with your eyes closed. Instead, you're just not going to look at your drawing. So the whole entire time, your eye is going to be on your object. So I'm going to be staring at this elephant. Now, okay, so you're probably like, why are we doing this? This is going to look terrible. Again, we are training our eye and our hand to work together as one. And it really allows you to like kind of let go of how your drawing looks and really just focus on that object and what you see. So with this one, it's definitely not going to look good, right? But you do need to slow down a little bit. A lot of times people don't give themselves a chance to succeed at this. They're like, oh, this is too hard. I can't do it. I'm just going to scribble something on the paper and be done with it. Or they cheat and they look at the paper. So I really want you to embrace what this is. This is a training exercise. And if you do this, like if you do this once a day, honestly, your drawing skills will improve because you're trying to improve your viewing skills and putting them with your drawing skills at the same time. It's like you're looking at something and drawing something and putting them together with this, okay? Now it's good to find a good place on the paper. I'm going to name this Blind Contour. So I don't want to like run out of paper whenever I'm doing this. That's a difficult part. So again, I cannot look at my paper and what I'm doing the entire time. So if I start at a bad spot, it's going to, then I'm going to go off the paper and that's going to be a little bit difficult. All right. So the entire time, and try not to even use your peripherals. There's a million and one ways to cheat on this. And I can honestly tell when somebody cheats. All right, so I'm starting on the trunk. This is a very complex object, especially considering that I'm doing a blind contour. Anytime you feel like your eye and your hand are not in sync, well, take a minute and slow down. Just take a rest. That's your resting point, and then kind of regroup. Slow down a little bit and try to get synced back up. Your eyes and your hand back in sync together. So I know whenever somebody has cheated on this, when everything aligns and looks perfect. And that's a contour line drawing. That is not a blind contour. I'm trying to focus on the eyes right now and some of the details of the head. All right, so this is another challenge. If I'm done with one area, how do I go to the next area? Well, you just kind of have to navigate away. But you're not picking your pencil up off the paper because you can't look at your paper to place your pencil again. I'm going to add some toes here. I need to go back and add some more toes. Believe it or not, if you do this once a day for a week, you're going to notice that you're going to get better at it. That's if you give yourself a chance to kind of slow down and really look at the object, really try to get your hand and your eye in sync. I honestly feel like I'm going a little bit too fast for my comfort. All right, there we go. So here is my elephant. This is my blind contour. Okay, it doesn't look too bad. I can tell where my toes are, and they're kind of on the feet. That tail might be a little, well, I guess it kind of looks like that. You can see that I have that little owl on his back. It's kind of in between the ears, so not too bad. So blind contour, it's a challenge. It's meant to help to train your eye and your hand to work together. So the last type of line drawing that I'm going to demonstrate is gesture. And if you didn't like the other two, this one might be one that you like a little bit better. So one thing that's a little bit more liberating from this one is that you can actually pick your pencil off the paper. I still don't want you to erase, but you can do kind of more quick sketchy lines versus one line, one continuous line. All right, so I'm going to again focus on the same object, my little elephant here. And I'm going to look at it probably a little bit differently. So whenever I do gesture drawing, most of the time I'll look at like the big shapes. So I'll place big shapes first. So I'm going to look at kind of this big shape where his body is. It's kind of like a ball. All right, so and I notice how light and airy but very sketchy those lines are. A lot different compared to something like this where it was one line, or even my contour. So they're very light and very easily to erase, these lines. All right, now I'm going to move into working on his feet a little bit. So with the other two, I kind of felt restricted on where I could go as far as what I was drawing next. This one I can kind of jump around and since I can pick my pencil up off the paper, it's not that I have to go from one section to the next, like in any sort of order. All right, so there I have kind of the bottom of his body. I can, kind of sketch in some of these details on his feet. He's got a little bit of a tail kind of showing through here, so I can add some of that. All right, so next I'm going to work on his head. I'm going to look at how his ear kind of comes in, and that's kind of where he doesn't really have a neck. So that's going to be my starter as far as putting in his head. So I'm going to put in just kind of the basic shape of his head, and then I can get a little bit more perfect and detailed with it. So the quick sketchy lines are then gonna, after I get it all placed, are then gonna be perfected. And then we can erase a lot of these extra lines that are not needed. So this is really just a quick way of getting the object on the paper, and not like really focusing on each little detail, but focusing on the big stuff first. And then once we get the big stuff in, then we can kind of perfect our drawing a little bit and get it a little bit more detailed. All right, so there's a little bit of a animal right here. So I'm just getting the basic shape of that owl-like creature. I don't know if he's an owl or what, but basic shapes, not really focusing in too much on the details. All right, so that's gesture drawing, very quick, sketchy lines to kind of get it on the paper. Again, my view is a little bit different than yours because of where the camera is placed. So gesture drawing.